The village of Eloria lay hidden beyond the misty hills, as if protected by time and ancient secrets. The forest surrounding it grew thick and wild, embracing the village in a magical place where legends whispered louder than the wind. Among the stories passed down through generations, one tale was always told with reverent hush, about a legendary tree said to grant the deepest wish of any heart truly lost in despair. Every morning Liora walked the muddy paths of Eloria with her head down, eyes fixed on the worn tips of her shoes. The woven bag on her back was filled with vegetables. She'd sell at the market some carrots, a few tomatoes, and a small pouch of potatoes, careful not to make the market stink. The voice came from behind her. Liora didn't need to turn to know who it was. Eric Vale, with golden blonde hair and clothes too fine even for a noble. Eric was the very opposite of everything in Liora's life. He was always surrounded by friends who laughed at every insult he threw. "I'm amazed you can live without shame," he continued, arms crossed. "But I'll give you this here impressive, selling dirt at the market like it's gold." Laughter exploded around her. Liora gripped her bag tightly, holding back tears. Not because the words were new, they weren't. In fact, she'd heard them too often, but somehow they never hurt any less. "That's enough, Eric." That voice belonged to Milawan. Of his friends who sometimes felt sorry for Liora, only sometimes. Liora walked faster, holding her breath to steady her chest. She would not cry in front of them. Not today, not again. Liora stared at the gray sky through the window of her wooden hut. Rain drizzled gently, soaking the fields and muddy paths. Her slender fingers curled around a cup of warm tea made by her grandmother. Yet its warmth couldn't chase away the cold inside her. "He mocked you again?" her grandmother asked softly, sitting by the fire. Liora nodded. "He said my clothes were better suited for a scarecrow," she whispered, swallowing the pain she should have grown used to. That boy again, Eric, heir to the wealthiest family in the village. Handsome, with a smile that charmed everyone. But Liora knew how sharp his tongue was. Every encounter left her scarred, not on the skin, but in places no one could see and far harder to heal. In her tiny, nearly collapsing home, Liora sat at the edge of her bed, gazing at the cracked window. "Is it a sin to be born poor?" she whispered. Her grandmother set a bowl of porridge on the table. "The world isn't fair, Liora, but you have something they don't." "What is it?" "Patience. And an honest heart." Liora gave a bitter laugh. What good is an honest heart when the world only values gold? Silence. The night wind carried the rustle of distant trees. Liora closed her eyes. In her heart, only one thing echoed now: freedom from shame, from inequality. If only she could stand equal to Eric, make him stop mocking her. "There's a place in the forest, Lee," her grandmother said suddenly. "An old tree they call the Tree of Hope. They say it can read your heart and grant your truest wish." Liora turned to her. "Is it real?" Her grandmother nodded slowly. "But be careful. The tree doesn't give you what you say. It gives you what you hide deepest in your heart." That night, as the village grew still and moonlight shimmered on puddles, Liora decided to enter the forest, not because she believed in legends, but because she no longer knew where else to turn for hope. As night began to fall and the drizzle still lingered, Liora slipped quietly out of the house. Her steps were light, but purposeful, as she followed the narrow path into the forest. Liora's footsteps pierced the thickening mist of the woods. The sound of snapping twigs and rustling leaves became her only companions in the silence of the night. She had no idea where her feet were taking her, only that she was following her instincts and the whispers of a legend she'd heard since she was a child. a legend of the wishing tree hidden deep within Eloria Forest, said to grant the deepest desire of anyone who stood before it. Liora didn't believe in miracles, but she believed in desperation, and sometimes that was enough to make someone walk into the forest without direction. When the branches parted and the mist thinned, she saw it. The tree stood in the center of a circle of stones, tall and ancient, its silver-hued leaves shimmering gently, even though no wind stirred. Moonlight bathed its cracked but sturdy trunk, and an indescribable warmth enveloped the space around it. Liora stepped closer, slowly. You really exist," she whispered, almost afraid to disturb the serenity of the place. She stood before the tree and bowed her head, placing her hand against its old bark. The coldness startled her. "I don't know what to say," her voice trembled, "but I'm tired. Tired of feeling small, tired of being treated like I don't matter." Silence. She swallowed hard, inhaled deeply. "I want wealth, money, a proper home, clean clothes, a life that doesn't make people laugh at me. I want Eric Valamant to stop humiliating me. I want the world to respect me the way they respect him. I want to be rich, so I won't be scorned anymore, so I can stand as an equal to anyone, even to Eric." But as she spoke those words, something felt off. The words flowed easily, but they felt incomplete. There was something deeper, buried beneath the surface, that she hadn't managed to say. The tree remained silent. Liora let out a bitter laugh. "Of course, even a legend isn't interested in listening to me." Suddenly, a breeze stirred, gentle but strong enough to make the silver leaves shiver. A small petal drifted down and landed on Liora's hand. A soft light bloomed around the stone circle, and then everything went still again. Liora looked around. Nothing had changed. There was no magical rumble, no treasure erupting from the ground, only silence. "That's it," she muttered, disappointed. She walked back home, believing her wish had gone unheard. What she didn't know was that the tree had looked deep into her heart, deeper than she had ever dared to look. And there, hidden beneath anger and sorrow, was one small, unspoken feeling she'd never dared to admit, a longing to be loved, even by the person she hated most. The next day, something changed, and that was only the beginning of a miracle she never asked for. She walked quickly inside, clutching her books tightly, bracing herself for the teasing, the shoves. But this morning, nothing happened. No foot purposely stuck out to trip her. No paper tossed into her hair. No mocking voices from the seats near the window. Eric's seat at the back of the classroom, and nearly dropped her books. Eric was looking at her, and he smiled. A smile, not a smirk. Not mocking, but warm. "Good morning, Liora." It was Eric's voice. The same voice he usually used to humiliate her in the school hallway. Now sounding calm and sincere, Liora froze. Her heart beat faster, not out of embarrassment, but confusion. Eric never greeted her, especially not by name, and never without venom in his tone. "Morning?" she replied uncertainly. Eric leaned forward, then pulled out the chair beside him. "Have you had breakfast? I brought some pastries from that new cafe. Want to try one?" What? Was this a joke? Liora stared at Eric suspiciously. His face was the same as she remembered, handsome, arrogant, confident. But now his eyes held a gentle light, and he didn't look like he was pretending. "Why are you acting like this?" Liora asked softly. Eric frowned. "What do you mean? You hate me. You always hated me." Eric was silent for a moment. His smile slowly faded, replaced by a confused expression. "I don't know why I used to act that way. I guess I was just stupid. But now I realize you're unique, smart, and honestly, kind of beautiful." Liora took a step back. This was too fast. Too strange. She rushed out of the classroom, her heart pounding. The morning air felt colder than usual. So this is the effect of the tree. Since that morning, Leora's life felt like she had stepped into a parallel world. Eric Valamant, the most insufferable rich boy she had ever known, had suddenly become the center of her attention. Not because of his teasing, but because of his smile and his kindness.